mentioned joining up in the parties, the New Year's party that Gerry hosted. The highlight was cruising down Colorado Boulevard at midnight. Now we have Times Square that we get here on the West Coast. Our family, aging as we are, we celebrate with them at 9 p.m. and go to bed. When we were young, we were able to do all of it, including lots of scotch, and off we go down the merriment of an open Colorado Boulevard in those days. I don't know if there's anything else exciting going on in LA publicly, but that was a bright spot, and wonderful joys and fun. I remember one night on that ride hearing that Fidel Castro just overturned the government in Cuba. So a lot of memories are in my heart and my mind as we bring Gerry to his rest. Today is October 11th. It was back in 1962, the first day of the convening of the Vatican Council, referred to before by Phil, and Gerry being part of that, as he, in time, went to be working as a secretary in that, and all of his excitement came alive, and he remembered, he'd recount that experience to me a lot as we have our reunions, all of our alumni fellowship nights, and he felt right at home. He was very engaged in church things. I remember working with him and Phil about Ridley. Martha Mahoney and I were on the prep, preparing a little periodical we'd have coming out of the seminary in the high school years, as well as in college, collecting over time treasure trove of pictures of our experience, and Gerry, I don't know if he passed that on to Tom or not, all the pictures and so on. I'm at a point in my life, I'm cleaning out all my records, so they're gone with the wind. But there was just a lot of fun about Gerry, a keen interest in things that was dear to his heart, and endeared him to me and to so many of us. He also talked a few times to me about the crisis he had in faith at that time, exposed to the underbelly of the curia and all of that that goes on in Rome, and the bureaucracy and so on, the not so nice side of a big church at the home office in the Vatican. And that was a setback for him. And it was a time, a lot of pain and sorrow that was suffered by the guys at that time in the church, in an upheaval. All these rumblings and an earthquake went on as it lurched into a new stage in his life. A lot of difficulties came up that many of us share with one another. But Gerry continued on, and the bright light in his heart and in his eyes didn't fail. And I was very happy to be with Mary and several of you who were part of the gatherings that went on, wonderful experiences in our lives. St. Augustine says that memory is a faculty of our soul, and that it goes with us into eternity. It's kind of like people going down in a plane. Their whole life is visible before them. I've heard reports of people pulling up at the last minute, and they said, it's true. There's something in us that holds on to everything in our life. And to share that, as we're doing now, to look forward to that, is a wonderful part of faith that enables us to see beyond our time-space bubble that we live in. So I bless God this day, and my sympathy for Mary, and a heart that was so devoted to Gerry day and night, year after year. A wonderful companion for him, and he a wonderful companion for you. So we journey on, and hope that this day is a wonderful blessing for all of you. Appreciation for what this gift for all of us has been. A blessing for the Lord, and so much to be thankful for.
As family and friends gather here in the grief of separation, may our love for Gerry and one another be a source of support and consolation for his family and his friends. Lord, hear our prayer. Lord, we pray, dear Lord, hear our prayer. Gerry served God so well in all the variety of his life, in his family and in his community. His generosity and his charity reached many. In gratitude for his life among us, may we be comforted by the knowledge that as Christ died and rose to glory, so shall we, and so shall those we love. We pray to the Lord.
As Gerry was given the promise of eternal life in baptism, Lord, give him communion with your saints forever. We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer. We remember all those who have known and loved, who have gone before us into the mystery of death. May their companionship, which was interrupted in this life, be restored in the joyous family of God's heaven. We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer.
Said, Gerry, I think you're dying. And we started saying the Lord's Prayer, nothing planned. We just spontaneously said the Lord's Prayer. And after we said that, he picked up my hands and kissed my hands and said, I love you. The next day, we called hospice. And the next day after that, we transferred him back to Jasmine Terrace, where he had lived for 8 months. He never complained at all about having Alzheimer's. At the end, he kept asking me, what's Alzheimer's? I think some of the messages today about Gerry, that he loved life and he loved people. And he certainly lit up my life. He lit up Westridge when he was there. He lit up Jasmine Terrace, a facility for dementia and Alzheimer's people. There are 140 people there, plus the staff. And the first week, everybody knew who Gerry Fallon was. And he danced and he sang. You're going to see, we're going to show the whole video again. And there's one of him dancing. Giselle Hagemeyer, who is responsible for helping me emotionally and helping with the beautiful flowers that were in the sanctuary. She hired somebody to celebrate Gerry's 79th birthday. This is in February, and you will see him dancing and singing and having a wonderful time. He had a wonderful life, and we will all miss him terribly. He gave me such a great life. I feel so blessed to have met him. And the first time I met Gerry was at Westridge, the first faculty meeting, and I saw this man in front of me with flowing red hair, dressed as a hippie, and he turned around to introduce himself, and I looked at him, at his nice face, and I said to myself, he looks nice, but he's not my type. But he was, and as Sal and aptly put it, that Gerry did so much for me and was so loving and made me enjoy life so much more than I might have if I never met Gerry Fallon.
We've got Gerry dancing on the screen.
In the 60s, it was a major mecca for the hippies during the hippie movement. And so I heard that Gerry was up at his house and tried to get a hold of him. Anyway, my father and I went to my mom's territory. Mom had already died by then. She died in 69. And there was Gerry, long flowing red hair, with a hole in his hand. And then he was a member of that little hippie community. So that's my little story about Gerry. He went with me to some home masters and relatives, and they were somewhat, skittish about the hippie that I brought along.
My folks went to Australia.
But they trusted me enough to accept him and love him and all. So.
Gerry, of course, is special to all of us, but I brought Cece up here because she's got the Star of David on. Only Gerry could pull this off, but he was going to Rome, and I said, hey, Gerry, I would like to have a Star of David blessed by the Pope. And I said, when my father was going to Rome, his Catholic friends asked him to get a cross that was blessed by the Pope. And when he came back with 7 crosses, somehow there were 8 guys. And my father didn't know what to do, and somebody suggested he put an extra cross in there, mixed them up, and said, these are among the crosses that were blessed by the Pope. But he wouldn't do that. So I always thought of the integrity of my father carried forward. And so I asked Gerry to do this for me, and he came through. And Gerry would just do anything for anybody. I love him, you love him, and that's all I have to say.
I met Gerry when I was almost 17 years old, and we met at the Chancery office. Gerry was one of the seminarians that would be brought in to work during the summer time. And the minute he walked in with his flaming red hair, he just made the Chancery office so much fun. One of his primary jobs was to work with Frank Weber, who ended up being the archivist for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and he was to assist Weber with the files. Well, the archives now is something grand to behold in San Fernando at the Mission, but when it was started in the late 50s going into the 60s, it was nothing but a little 9x10 room downstairs with a bunch of file cabinets. And but Gerry had this sense of humor, and he would, he would ascend from the catacombs, as he would call it, and parade up and down the hallway in front of Monsignor Hawks' office, which was great fun. But he made all of us laugh, and it was just amazing. There was another person here who worked there around that time. I don't know if he's still here, Fred Ballack. He was still in the seminary, hadn't been ordained yet. And I think John Bremer did too. There you go. John Bremer was there too for a while. And I'm trying to remember, I don't know, there were others. But it was an interesting time. That was my first encounter with Gerry, but something that he brought forward through all his adult life, and clear up to the very end. And Tom and I were privileged to be with him. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before he passed. Mary had us over to her home for a beautiful luncheon, and Gerry was there, and he loved to dance, is right. He was playing this music, and he and I were dancing in the living room. And he kept, what was the song? God, I was trying to remember, but I got rhythm, I got rhythm, I got my love, who dance for anything more. And he just kept singing that over and over again, and he knew all the words, and he would raise up his arms and carry on. But that was the last time we actually got to see Gerry in all his glory. But he will be missed for sure. So turn it over to Tom.
I have 2 quick stories about Gerry. Gerry used to have parties at his home for the seminarians. I attended the seminary with Gerry for 11 and a half years. So I know a lot about the history. So I was at one of his parties, and I had to go to the bathroom. And he said, "Do you take vitamins, Tom?" And I said, "I sure do. I take a lot of vitamins." He says, "Well, don't waste your, on the bathroom. Come out and let's do it together in our vegetable garden." I'm not sure what Gerry had growing in there, but I think I looked pretty familiar. I think we could smoke it. That's one interesting story about Gerry. On the light side, I think he was very, light liberal, or whatever. The second story is a little bit more interesting and serious. He came to my home one day, and he brought a satchel with him. And he sat it down, unannounced, about 7:30 in the morning. I didn't know he was coming over. And he sat down, and he looked at me rather serious, which was unlike Gerry, because he usually had something light to say. And I said, "Well, what's going on, Gerry?" He said, "Well, my wife is doing a presentation at Oxford, and I know it's near your home, and so she dropped me off here." And I said, "Well, hey, you're welcome. You want some coffee, or what's going on?" And he said, "I have a big favor to ask of you, Tom." And at that point, he put his briefcase on top of my coffee table, and he said, "These pictures are very, very special to me. I've saved them for the last 52 years, and I want you, because you have a good memory, and I think you can get a hold of Terry Howard, who also has a good memory, and I want you to identify all these people that went to the seminary with us since, 1945 to 53 to 63 to 83 or whatever." And so Terry dedicated probably about 20 hours or 25 hours of his time, and we named all of them for Gerry. And that's the kind of guy that Gerry was. He started L.A. Sims. He invited me and a few other people to communicate together after we had been separated for 50 years from the seminary. In order to understand what the seminary is all about, just imagine your family. And we're in the formative years of our life, from 13 to 26 years of age. And we're all thrown together 24/7. And we formulate a new family like you cannot believe. I had a class reunion in my house, and it took about 5 minutes for people to reconnect with one another. Once we put the name tags on in the college, we could identify them. Okay? Gerry was like that. He connected people. Okay? And my wife, Betty, who you just met, integrated L.A. Sims, and it was a boys' institution. It took about 3 weeks for them to agree to let my wife into the institution. Okay, one last thing is that when George Niederauer took over the help from the seminary, he said, "Tom, I want to tell you something. The inmates are running the institution now."
One of the things that struck me about Gerry was that somebody who left the priesthood, he sure seemed awfully like a really fun priest. Really, when you think about it, because he left the priesthood, but he was still going to every funeral of every person that ever lived. He was still officiating marriages. He was still bringing, blessings to newborns. He was the person in the neighborhood that people would call on if you were sick and you wanted somebody to come to you. It would be Gerry. If your spouse was sick, it would be Gerry that would come and sit with you. I mean, that's what happened for me, both when I was sick and my husband was sick. And he was still writing and editing for the Catholic newspaper. He was still faithfully going into the cathedral and entering all of the priests that had come to California and when they had served and what parish they had served in and so forth. And I always thought, this is just a bigger sense of priesthood. I'm sorry if that's in any way offensive. It's just a very broad sense of priesthood. And I very much enjoyed the love of it. Thank you.